Okay, good morning. Not quite a road trip, but kinda. Okay, so it is actually, well, it was 6:35 a.m. It's now 6:39 a.m. I know I am never up this early, but I think we're getting ready for daylight savings to come in because my body has naturally been waking up a little bit earlier than usual. Anywho, I'm up here at the bakery, and turns out bakery opens up at 6 o'clock every day, except Saturdays and Sundays. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to record the Saturday podcast, and I'm going to do it without my glasses. So I've got notes on my phone, but I don't have glasses. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be so much fun. And actually, I do believe, there's a saying that things are always happening for you, not to you. And, I could think to myself, oh, it's not fair, it's not open, and I'm, got up and I'm here and I made it and all of this. But it's happened for me because actually today's my mum's birthday and she's still in bed. So when I get home with said coffee, I will have more time to be able to decorate the house for her. So I bought all balloons and streamers and stuff like that because also our nephews, well, her grandchildren, my nephews are coming over today. So it's kind of a big deal. Want to make sure the place is party ready for the boys. They are 3 and almost 2 years old and they are just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous little dumplings. And I just want to kiss them and hug them and kiss them and hug them and kiss them and hug them and never, ever, ever let them go. They are just the most beautiful little dumplings you've ever seen. Okay, so as you know, for 90 days I've been doing videos on my Facebook business page, okay? This is just something I do once a year to, give the algorithm a good kick in the pants, let it know I'm still here, plus I repurpose that content. And I'm going to do that today in a way because yesterday's video got a lot of comments, which is really unusual because if you know much about social media, you'll know that Facebook business pages traditionally and typically get very, very little reach. Their main function presently is to be a holding place. Lets Meta know that you are a legitimate business and it allows you to run Facebook and Instagram ads. Without having a Facebook business page, you cannot do that. So that's its main purpose at the moment. Look, if you want to do advertising, you absolutely need to have one. Do you need one for your private practice? I would say probably not. I think your website is more than adequate. I don't think anyone would think less of you because you didn't have a Facebook business page. So I wouldn't kill yourself trying to get content onto it every day. And certainly don't get upset if you're getting no engagement or no clients from it. The reason for that is because, again, you can go and do your own research, but Facebook business pages currently in September 2024 have the lowest reach in history that they've ever had. And that is because Mark Zuckerberg and his team are putting more of their focus on community and bringing it back to community. So anyway, that's that. But the video that I put up yesterday, when I went to bed last night, I ended up putting up 2 or 3 videos late in the afternoon yesterday. And then when I went to bed last night, I saw there were 4 or 5 comments on one of them, which was on my perception of overwhelm being a survival mechanism. And it seemed to get some interest. So I thought, well, let's talk about that today. So I want to explain to you what I mean by overwhelm being a survival mechanism. And I'm going to give you I think I've got 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 ways that I think it's a survival mechanism that I'm going to share with you. And what I would like you to do is just have a listen, see what you think, see what resonates, see if you can hear any of yourself in any of this, and then I'll give you some guidance and reflections towards the end, okay? Now, I appreciate this is going to be difficult or challenging topic for some people to listen to. That's okay. But for other people, they'll go straight away, oh, I can relate. And other people will just say, this has nothing to do with me. I never get overwhelmed ever. I'm going to go and listen to a previous episode of something else she's done. Okay, so first off, from an evolutionary perspective, we have to remember that our brains are wired for survival, right? You and I both know that in ancient times, feeling overwhelmed in dangerous situations was something that really did trigger a necessary response in us that was called fight or flight. Still is called fight or flight, and in fact there are variations on that, as you may well know. They're referred to as the 4 Fs now, which is fight, flight, freeze, or okay, so all those things help us stay alive. And these mechanisms can still activate even now while we're not in danger of getting eaten by a bear or a dinosaur or things like that. We still have those built-in survival mechanisms, right? In fact, it happens in your amygdala. Your amygdala says, whoa, we're faced with a situation here that seems a little bit scary, so let's just, hold our horses, pull back, and so that's what we tend to do. Luckily, though, we also have our prefrontal cortex, and I know many of you already know about this, but for those of you who don't have a background in psych, prefrontal cortex is the one that says, well, yeah, we see that there's something new on the horizon over here, but we're curious and we know that growth happens outside our comfort zone, and for that reason we're willing to give it a shot. Right? So there's always an interplay between both those parts of your brain, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex. But the point of the matter is, I believe that overwhelm can be viewed as a survival mechanism, and it's based on evolutionary processes as one of the reasons. Second, I think there's a real protective function. If we think about what's the function or what's the purpose of being in overwhelm, one of the things can be that it serves as a protective barrier against perceived threats, okay? And some of those threats might be fear of failure. What if I do all of these things that Brooklyn asks me to do? What if I stop posting on my social media, put a pin in all of that, and I just focus on my website? What if I do that and suddenly I get more traffic or more people come, and then I get more clients, and then my diary fills up, and then I've got to organise childcare and, this and that and blah, 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 and it gets bigger than Ben-Hur in your mind, right? So there's that. You think, oh my gosh, well, actually that's fear of success, isn't it? You think, what if you get so successful and all of these things? And so it gets really super scary. And so you say to yourself, do you know what? I'm just so overwhelmed by all of this. I'm not going to take any action at all. Then there's the opposite, which is fear of failure. What if I do all of these things that Brooklyn says and it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work within the first week? What if it doesn't work within the first 2 weeks? What if I don't see results until 4 weeks? What about that? What if it doesn't work at all and I still don't have any clients and there's no money, and everybody was right that I shouldn't have started my own business, that I shouldn't have quit that other job, that I shouldn't have signed up for that new lease, right? Big concerns, legit concerns as well. And what about the fear of the unknown, right? I don't know what it's going to look like. What does a successful private practice even look like? I don't know. I don't know what the implications of that are. I don't even know what that means. Maybe it's just safer where I am. I'm overwhelmed. And we see this in communities, we see it in courses, we see it in online courses and programs too, that despite being given all of the strategies, there'll always be people who are at different stages of their journey. There are some that just go ahead in leaps and bounds. There are some that stay the course and they say, oh, well, it's week 1, I'm going to do week 1. It's week 7, I'm going to do week 7. And then there are some that feel like they're falling behind, and it could be week 8 and they're still doing the work in week 1, and they're turning up to the student calls saying, I'm overwhelmed. And they will just keep rehashing the work from week 1, not really making that much progress. They can find themselves questioning everything. So even if you say, oh, look, well, what you've got here is actually really good, you're all good, green light, green tick, move on to the next thing, they'll still say, no, it's not right, I don't agree, it's not right for me yet. There'll always be some reason that keeps them stuck there, and they'll always say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed. The point of doing a course, for example, is so that you get all the strategies, right? You're going to get the strategies, the process, the recipe, the thing to do, the follow, the list, all the spreadsheets. You're going to get all of those things, right? But if your mindset isn't sorted out, you're going to say, I'm in overwhelm, because perhaps you're in fear of failure, in fear of success, all those kinds of things. And then all these other emotions come up because your reality is that nothing's changing. And so then that little voice inside says, see, I told you shouldn't have done this. I told you were no good. I told you this was a waste of money. You should have spent it on Google Ads rather than doing another course. Do you know what I mean? All this self-sabotage, negative talk, negative thinking comes up. I believe my third thing is that I believe that saying we're overwhelmed is also an avoidance strategy for some of us for some of the time. Would you agree? By feeling overwhelmed, we may subconsciously give ourselves permission to avoid actually doing anything. It keeps us in a space of inaction or inactivity. And this prevents us from actually facing, rejection or criticism or feedback or disappointment and things like that. So in order to avoid all those unwanted negative things, we say, I'm overwhelmed. And we stay where we are. Meanwhile, our colleagues, our peers, our friends, they're all sort of moving along the program, or they're moving along in their business. They're making progress at their own pace, but they're all moving forward and you're not. You're saying, I'm stuck. The reality is you're not stuck. The reality is there's something going on there with your mindset. So ask yourself, is it true that I'm worried about being criticized here? Is it true that I'm worried about not being good enough? Is it true that I'm worried about being rejected? What if I do put myself out there and I get heckled? And then we say all these things like, well, of course, it's okay for Brooklyn to go and do, for example, right? It's okay for Brooklyn to show up for 90 days in a row on camera and do her videos. She's, I don't know, you might say, oh, she's good at them. I'm not good at them, by the way. There's always, goodness me, the dog running around in the background and me trying not to yell at him. And anywho. But you might say, oh, Brooklyn, she's been doing this for such a long time. It's easy for her, this, that, and the other. It's not easy for me. And so you can come up with all of these things that feel like legitimate reasons, but they keep you nice and safe. Number 4 is, keeping you nice and safe, staying in the familiar because it's where you're comfortable. So even if the predicament that you're in with the business now is causing you stress financially, emotionally, stress to your self-worth and self-esteem, the reality is that the situation that you're in is the devil that you know. And for some of us, sometimes, the devil that we know is easier to handle and deal with and wrangle than the one that we don't. So success can push us out of this comfort zone, triggering our own anxiety. And who wants to feel anxious? No one. You don't, I don't. And so we can use it as an avoidance tool technique. The 5th one is around the self-fulfilling prophecy. Feeling overwhelmed can lead to that inaction or even procrastination. Like if I had $1 for every time somebody said to me, oh, I haven't done the work from our last session because it's not perfect yet. I'm a perfectionist, wear it as a little badge of honor. Oh, I haven't done any work since module 3 because, I just want it to be so perfect. I call BS. I'm going to call you out on that. I think you're avoiding something. I think even perfectionism is a survival mechanism. And what did I want to say there? Okay, I've lost my train of thought. I was on self-fulfilling prophecy, I think. So we don't do anything about it. Nothing changes. And then this reinforces the belief that the task is too big for us to handle and we're not capable. Right? not ideal. Number 6, emotional regulation. Overwhelm can be a way for some of us to manage our emotions because it can help us to feel safer to say something like we're overwhelmed than to actually deal with the deeper feelings that are going on beneath the surface. So, your feelings are manifestations of your thoughts, right? So let's have a look at what the thinking is, what's going on there, and then try and unpack it from that space. Without the right thinking behind you, you won't see results in your business, okay? You have to have the mental imagery first. And this is manifestation 101, right? You've got to have a picture in your mind's eye of what you really want the practice to look like. From that mental image, you're going to have thoughts about it. Those thoughts are going to lead to actions. Those actions are going to be what generates results. Even if you don't know what to do something, because when you're in that space and you don't know what to do, taking action will give you instant feedback about, yes, this is what I need to do, or no, it's not. Action brings clarity every single time. So it also brings results. But if you're not seeing the results, it's not because of the action, it's because of the thinking behind it. So that needs to get sorted out. Number 7, identity protection. If your identity is tied to struggling, or you've got an identity like an employee mindset of, in air quotes, working hard, success might threaten this self-image that you have, right? So overwhelm is going to keep you working hard because that's what's familiar. So many times work with private clients one-on-one and, they get apprehensive and nervous about when I say to them, oh, well, just stop posting on your social media. They freak out. Their anxiety comes to the surface. All their stories come bubbling up. But, when they say, okay, I'll trust in the process and I'm going to try it, that's when change happens. But for others, they just can't let it go because they're so used to working hard. And that's the function of the overwhelm for people in that situation. Next, number 8, it can be a control mechanism. Saying you're overwhelmed can be a way of you controlling the situation or the outcome. So paradoxically, feeling overwhelmed can give you a sense of control. If everything is just too much for us, we just don't have to take responsibility for making any changes. It's too much, it's too hard, not going to do it. I'm going to stay over here doing busy work that won't shift the needle on my business, but will satisfy my identity, which is that of a hard worker, and I'll exhaust myself and I won't have good boundaries. I'll come home from the office and I'll still check emails and I'll still be thinking about my clients and I'll still check my DMs and see if anybody's messaged me, or I'll still respond to a Psychology Today inquiry that comes through on text at 8:30 at night. Yeah, no. Okay, number 9. Attention diversion. Okay, this is where overwhelm can divert your attention from a specific fear or challenge, instead creating a more general sense of it all being too much. And that in itself just feels more manageable. Yeah, much easier to avoid doing something because it all feels too much. Like social media. Number 10, and this is just like the last thing that sort of came to my mind, but I think sometimes we can use overwhelm as a way to justify a crisis in our business. So for some private practice owners, sometimes being overwhelmed justifies seeking help or making significant changes that we might otherwise feel guilty about. But do you know what? At the end of the day, understanding overwhelm as a potential survival mechanism, right, through the lens of it being a potential survival mechanism, could be a super powerful realization for you to have. And I'm hoping, it's my highest intention, that one of you listening to this has had a realization or an aha or a breakthrough. It allows you to approach your feelings with curiosity rather than with judgment. And when we approach things from the space of, that's really interesting, hadn't thought about it like that before, that can lead to more productive ways of addressing anything that might be underlying, like a belief or a fear, a challenge or concern, and help you to move forward. Okay? So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. Just a quick podcast today, just a quick 20-minute podcast while I'm waiting for this bakery to open so I can get my coffee. And it's just gone 7 o'clock. So I'm going to hit pause on this. I will come back and share more with you in the Wednesday business edition. Until then, stay warm and safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful Saturday. Bye.